What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today's kind of an exciting one. I'm gonna hopefully be cranking this motor over for the first time with the ignition in the car. So what I've got going on, because I've got kind of a mess of wires here set up, let me show you what's happening. So I got my battery sitting down here, and this red wire here, this is my 12 volt positive going into my bulkhead, into my car. That wire comes down, follows along, and connects to the positive lead on this battery I had sitting off the side. And then this big wire here goes up to my starter. I've got my ground. I've got just a jumper cable with a ground. It's grounded to the motor mount bolt. And that should be all I need to at least crank this thing over. So now that it's set up and I have my start wire from my bulkhead, it's already ran around, it's ran down to my starter's connected. So I should be able to just hop in, turn the key, and it should turn over. So this is the first crank with it in the car. So let's find out if it turns over. You'll join me in this mission, I guess. Let's see if it happens. Ignition on. And it cranks. So, now that I know it cranks, let me get my oil pressure gauge set up because I want to make sure it's building oil pressure. And then let's watch it and see if it builds. Alright, so as you've seen, I got up to about 25 PSI on just cranking. That's actually pretty good. I'm going to take it. The typical range for plugs out, cranking an engine, at least the LS engines, is around 20 to 30 PSI. I got kind of a weak battery. So 25, that's pretty good. I'm going to take it. So that's good news for me. I'm going to go out there now and do a couple other things. Get a couple of things buttoned up and continue working on this. So something I'm curious of, now that I've got 25 PSI oil pressure on this motor, I'm curious if that little put together doodad back there for my oil pressure sensor is leaking. So let's just take a look back there and see what we can see. See if we can see anything back there. Doesn't look to me like it's leaking. Looks pretty dry around it. So it looks like that's gonna hold up. I don't know if you can see it back there. It's kind of dark. I got a light held back there, but it's holding up. Good news. That's what I like to see. So, one step closer. Got these little things to mark off and getting one step closer every time we mark a mark. So, let's keep going. Okay, guys. So, here's where I'm at. I've got both fenders on. You just seen a minute ago that it does crank over. So, since it cranks over, I went ahead and put my fenders on. And I've got my wiring ran. My wiring runs up in through my fender, comes out here. I know it's dirty. Goes in through the headlight bucket, comes out. It's going to actually get tucked up on the bottom side of my radiator support. It's going to run all along my radiator support, and then it comes over here to this side, and then it tucks, so it actually goes around the back side of the radiator support. It's going to tuck back in through for my headlight. I've got my coolant lines for my my heater. That's ran. I got a 90 degree there, stuff I just had laying around. 90 degree there that goes in, and down there I have another 90 degrees, so they both go into the inside of my fender. They run along, they both shoot out here, and then they come down to right there and attach. This is my power cable to my starter. I've got to bend these back down into place. But where I'm currently at is mounting my radiator back in, and my radiator never fit properly. I bought that radiator a while ago. It never fit properly whenever I had it in here before, and I figured out why. So, down here is the channel that the radiator rides in. And what's happening is, this edge right here, this whole edge, is hitting the side of my radiator. So it's not letting it sit all the way down. So, up here, it wasn't flush. It actually set up above it, and I couldn't put my factory cover back over. So I had to like make some ghetto homemade brackets, and I think I figured out how to get it to sit low enough that I can put my factory support back over it, which is awesome. I'm excited for that, if I can get it to fit, because I never liked the look of those ghetto brackets I made. So that's where I'm at. I'm gonna get this radiator right here mounted up in the radiator support and see if it says low enough that I can go back to the shop, because the shop's actually where my original cover is. So let me get the radiator mounted, and I will come back and see how low it is. Alright, so radiator's mounted. I know it's not pretty, but it's black. This is the original factory one that I had, and the reason we didn't put it back on, number one, is because the radiator was too tall originally, because it's a different radiator. This isn't the factory radiator. The other reason that we didn't put it on is because it was too long. So I actually just cut that end, because it actually hung out to about here if I lined it up to where I wanted it. So I cut it off right here, put a new mount hole, and it's mounted, it's secured, it ain't going nowhere. And that's actually, finally, for the first time in the history of the car, centered in the radiator opening. Even the original radiator was not perfectly centered in this. So there's a first for that. I'm going to continue working. I have my transmission cooler sitting down there. I need to figure out how to mount it. It was originally mounted and it was held up kind of janky and crooked, and yeah. So I want it to be straight. I want it to be back on the car properly. So I need to mock up some new mount points, and that's what I'm going to work on now. So let me get some new mounting positions for those. Okay, this is where I'm leaving the car. I've got my bumper back on now, as you see. I've got my whole front end back together. I've got my radiator support in, my radiator that's in. I do have just a flex hose lower coolant line. I've got my positive cable ran down to my starter. I've got a negative cable. It's just kind of held up there for now. I need to get an end for it. I got my battery sitting in there. I've got my transmission cooler mounted up down there, and I've got them ran through a couple grommets. They weren't ran through grommets before, but they are now. They actually come out right here. They loop around, and they attach to my radiator down there. The hard lines are the original hard lines from the old motor that was in the car. I'm leaving those. Next video should hopefully be starting. That should be me starting the car. I'm waiting on my PCM to get back, but it shouldn't be much longer. It should be maybe, I don't know, a couple days. So this is how I'm leaving it. It's ready. It does crank over, as you guys seen. I do need to get a couple things though. I need to get my alternator. I need to get another coil for the back because my coil was messed up. I need to get my serpentine belt and an upper radiator hose. That right there is an adapter because that is 1 1/4 inch inlet for my coolant line, and my radiator is a 1 1/2. So that's just an adapter to go from 1 1/4 to 1 1/2. That, and I've got one of my power steering lines ran. It's my return line. So with this power steering pump, it's going to be kind of hard to get you in there to see it, but it's got 2 return fittings. It's got a return fitting there, and it's got a return fitting here. This one I don't need. This is the one for like the Hydro Boost, and my car doesn't have Hydro Boost. So what I did was I tapped the line. So I tapped it for this bolt, and I put some sealant on the bolt, and I threaded it in, and then I tightened it down. So hopefully that doesn't leak whenever I start it, but it shouldn't because that's not a pressure line, it's just a return line. But my other return line, the one that I am going to use, comes off there, and I will have it secured. It's not really secured in place right now, so it's not going to be resting up against this pulley, but it will be pulled like this, so it won't be far from it. It'll be far enough away that it ain't never going to have a problem. It is ran though, so you just need a clamp. It's, like I said, not pressurized. So I got my 6AN line, I got my clamp, and up here I used the, let's see if I can get you in there. I used the factory, or the original line, and it's got the original thread. It's got the original bolt. It's got the somewhat original hard line that was here. It's chopped about here and flared, and then I put the 6AN over it and tightened it down with another clamp. So that should be good. Other than that, I mean, I got you guys seen everything else. There's a couple things I still got to do before I start the car, which I'll finish up. Like this here is not actually fully seated into the transmission. I need to kind of adjust it down there. It is very close, but it's not quite there. That is my dipstick tube for my transmission. And I've got to put my wire actually back on there. I got it. It's just, I took it off earlier and it's just sitting here. That needs to get put back on. And I think that's it. I'm going to leave off here today. So next video should hopefully be first start. That should hopefully be the next video. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to stay tuned for that. That's an exciting one. I'm excited for this. There is no exhaust on the car, so it's going to be open headers. I'm probably going to have to push the car out. But it's going to be exciting. So make sure you stay tuned. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. That would really help me out a lot. Subscribe. And if you're new to subscribe, make sure you click that bell notification. And if you have any questions on how I did anything or how I'm going to run anything, or if you have any suggestions on something I should have done, go ahead and leave it down below in the comment section. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.